Cluster meeting. This is an outgrowth of some innovative entrepreneurs that we have here in our local community. They're using technology and their own inventions to better demonstrate ways in which we can educate people of really all ages, from preschool to K-12 to beyond. And it represents the best of Tacoma's entrepreneurial spirit. The purpose today is to give an opportunity in a panel discussion where they'll do presentations and then take questions from the audience, and maybe we can engage in a discussion. So I will present our panelists in order of presentation. So first we'll have David from Black Muse, Kimberly from Anchor, Eddie from Future Gen, and Neetal from Innov8 Social. And we'll start with David.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Good to see you. I see a lot of familiar faces and some I don't know, so it's a pleasure meeting you all. As he so eloquently introduced, I'm David Robichaud. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Muse. We are a virtual reality educational resource center. We do a lot of different things. So just to make it short, we work with the State Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, helping kids transition from school to career. And we use a lot of high-tech stuff to do that with. We bring high-tech technologies into lower income and marginalized communities. And that's what it's been a blessing doing that type of work from my heart. And then as well as that, we create virtual products for organizations, for companies and such. And I actually have a cool thing I'm going to show you all here. We're in over 30 schools here in Tacoma. And we've recently branched out to California. We're in Compton Unified District, as well as Linwood Unified District. And we'll be moving to Brooklyn next. And we have a video to give you a little taste here. No one's seen this yet. I think Eddie is the closest one to see this. Could you push the slider back to the beginning?
Good day. How can I assist you today?
Oh yeah, can you push it back where it restarts?
We are in the sterile processing lab. This is the heart of our operation.
It looks like the video is skipping frames here.
It's a critical part of maintaining a safe and sterile environment for patient care. Is there anything specific you would like to know about the lab?
Okay. That's weird.
Good day.
Okay, for whatever reason, it's skipping frames of the video. Okay, so the actual video is not exactly like this and nowhere near. But what's happening here is we're creating what's called Sterile VR. It is a project that we're working with Steers Company and a couple of hospitals here local to Tacoma. And we are teaching new employees how to become sterile processing technicians. Which the important thing about this is, so to not be rude to sterile processing technicians, it is basically an extremely important dishwasher who's washing surgical equipment after they're being used in the operating room. There's something called bioburden, which can kill people and which has killed people for as long as surgery has existed. So it's very important to clean these materials using sonic vibrations, using ultraviolet lights, and high levels of steam. So teaching people how to do this can be quite dangerous. So doing it in the virtual space allows them to become more familiar with equipment without killing anyone. And not only have we created a virtual space for learning this, we've also added in an AI instructor that's able to assist the learner with any questions necessary. They respond. It responds to things happening in the environment, and it also teaches where it goes. It's been tested by a panel of advisors that we've now onboarded that are high in their field, and we've dumped a lot of info in him. So this is one of the projects, my flagship project currently that we're working on. So I just wanted to have a chance to show that to you. So thank you for entertaining me on that.
Okay, I require little cheap prompts here. So my name is Kimberly Crushing. I'm CEO and co-founder of Anchor, and we create activities for adults with cognitive challenges. And I'm not really talking about our company, but a situation that arises, because my brain does this weird thing. Whenever I hear the word tech, it automatically goes to all things digital, like he was talking about. And nobody taught me that. I think we just are surrounded by so much amazing innovation that it just naturally comes together that way. But technology actually, oh, I need my glasses because I'm of the older generation. Technology is just using knowledge to make tools, systems, or processes that help us solve problems, reach goals, or meet everyday needs. So in other words, just figuring out a way to solve a problem, which that's what business is. That's why we create businesses. But even in today's idea, or my idea of what tech is, there's different levels of tech. And so I like to put things in word pictures. So I'm thinking of it as a puzzle. And so if we think of the highest level of tech, which is cutting edge and high tech, that's where we have VR and AI, the different software, smart technology. That's the middle pieces of the puzzle. That's the bulk of the puzzle. It's the beautiful picture. In fact, it's the reason we buy the puzzle. But one of the things is, depending on the piece count or the individual piece size or the intricacy of the image or the simplicity, that puzzle could be pretty challenging for somebody to put together. Then we have the mid-tech. That's your digital alarm clocks, your CD players, your DVD players, your digital photo frames, and people like me still use those. In the puzzle world, that's the edge pieces. And that's the satisfying part to put together. But that is the structure and the framework of the puzzle. And what's nice is because it has that help, it has that straight edge to help you. But it can be a little complex and challenging too if it doesn't have enough of the picture in it. Then we have the lowly low tech. We got your paper and pencil. We have books, if anybody still uses those aside from me. We have jigsaw puzzles. We have board games. We have activity books and flashcards. In the puzzle world, those are the corners. They're not flashy. They're not sexy. There's nothing seemingly special about them, except they're really important. First of all, they have two corners that help you. There's only 4 of them, and almost everybody can identify and put them in the right place. And most importantly, they lock the whole puzzle together. Now, you might say, what the heck does any of that have to do with entrepreneurship and resiliency? Because I was told that's the theme of all of this. I suggest it has 2 things. 1, how digitally dependent is your business? If your internet goes down, are you still able to function? What happens if you lose customer files? Are they backed up somewhere else? What if we lose the power? Those are real situations right now where we have cyber attacks every day. Internet, sometimes it's hit and miss. And right now, our power structure is at risk. And number 2, how accessible is your business? Are you unintentionally, excluding older adults or less tech-savvy customers? Can someone with a physical or cognitive limitation still benefit from what you have to offer? Are you considered high-tech only, and are you making anyone feel overwhelmed or intimidated by doing so? In 2023, it was estimated, that's okay, that there were at least 59 million adults over the age of 65, and that number is estimated to grow to over 78 million by 2040. That's not to mention the 44 million people with some form of disabilities. So I suggest that is not a niche market. I'm not here to offer solutions, but just to suggest that these are questions you ask yourself, because incorporating lower tech into your business strengthens your business against disruptions. Becoming more accessible to people with differing abilities broadens your audience and creates growth. And strength and growth together equals resilience. And just like when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, the picture is complete.
Wow, that's tough to follow up on, guys. But howdy, everyone. My name is Eddie Mazuragos. I'm the founder and CEO of FutureGen, which is a Gen Z career readiness engagement platform. And just some cool facts about myself. I fell in love with the question, what do you want to do in the future? It was a very easy to ask, hard to answer question though. And again, something that I saw my little brother actually struggle through. And when taking a step back and looking around myself amongst my friends and other folks that I knew in the school communities, it turns out it's a big question for a lot of folks that every day we're trying to ask ourselves. And so for myself and what our company does, we essentially use short form videos of working professionals from YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, of basically them doing their day-to-day, everyday stuff to identify the career interests of students, young adults, and patients, so then we can be able to share those career insights across their support network. So an exciting project I can finally talk about that we're doing is actually supporting Chestnut Health in one of their behavioral health programs, specifically for sobriety patients. So we're going to be helping pilot programs across 5 separate states. Washington is actually one of them. And what we're doing is we're identifying the career readiness stages of these patients who are going through sobriety, are on their path for sobriety, so we can be able to identify, when is a patient in the career exploration stage? When are they in the upskilling stage? When are they looking for actual jobs and they're ready? So their healthcare teams can actually go ahead and have meaningful interactions that meet their patients where they are. And we do very similar work across the state. Also in Pierce County and King County, with expectations in Wenatchee and also in Olympia, doing some collaborative work with DVR Washington's pre-ETS agency. So with that, happy to be here, and I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic now to another amazing contributor to our community here.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming today. It means so much to be here amongst these incredible founders and all of you. I wanted to just mention, we love the word entrepreneur around here. That we find ourselves gravitating to it, but really an entrepreneur is just someone following their curiosity and trying to solve something, whether we use high tech, low tech, whether we use the connections we have. And I think what's really amazing is each of the people on this panel, I have seen in the last few years them pivot to better meet a client's need or to better serve a certain, gap that they see. So that's really all we are. We have just chosen the thing that we're working on to pursue our curiosity and to follow that thread. But I don't think that we didn't come here saying, I'm going to build this thing. We came with the question of saying, how can we solve this? How can we make this better? Or why does this gap exist? So I say that because I want to tell you a little bit of a story. A lot of my work now is in storytelling. So the story of my work is really, I somehow learned about this idea of using business and impact, social entrepreneurship. And since I learned about 15 years ago, I have felt the need to share that in different places, whether my background is in law, so looking at legal structures that employs, or creating events. I went to my first hackathon after graduate school and it changed my life. And I thought, how do we give that to people younger, earlier in their career, that they could really impact what they do? And then my brother's in the audience and his kids, my nephews, inspired me to think, how do we start much younger and help kids see themselves as problem solvers? So my business, Innovate Social, that's our goal. And I say that because we're constantly making, not mistakes, but trying this. It's like when you make a U-turn or you try to, you back out, you're trying to find the right thing. So, for me, I started with a lot of online content, blog posts, and that was great, but we couldn't see how people are engaging with the content. Then we started this event called Impactathon with universities, companies, foundations, where people got together and we could be in the room with them as they formed ideas and support them. And that was for college and older. And then when my nephews were young, I realized our youngest learners have so much coming in their pathway that they have to be exponential thinkers and innovators and collaborators. So that was in 2020. I was going to create a live event, just like Impactathon, but for kids. But in 2020, we had a pandemic, and even the youngest learners were on Zoom for hours in the day. And thinking of creating another thing on Zoom was just not the right fit. So I thought we'll make this into a children's series. So I created the Pineapple Friends. That is now a 4-book series that introduces problem solving, social emotional learning, and entrepreneurship to young learners. And technology, and I love Kimberly's frame because the goal was never use the latest tech, because I'm not a coder, but as the books were coming out, AI was emerging. So we could, with some help from a developer, and then now we can do it on our own, we create like a chat that you could chat with one of the characters using a chatbot. And then almost thinking through, it's a lot to assume that educators can teach entrepreneurship if they themselves have not had that experience. So could we create a simple, digital learning platform where people could, turnkey solution of they can create handouts and lesson plans based on diverse learners and for their settings, whether they're homeschool or substitute teacher. So that's kind of where we're at now. We have the books out. We also are working on this digital platform. And the problem that solves is that we realize it's hard enough as a teacher. I have so much respect for teachers to teach in their own, the things that they have to teach. But if they're teaching something new, or that is kind of these look like books, but there's kind of a learning system, how can we make it easier? That's another goal of entrepreneurs: reduce the friction, make it easier. And so I just wanted to tell that story because if I were to pitch you would think, oh, that's what they always wanted to do. But it's really just been a journey of discovery. And I'm sure we'll make a million mistakes along the way and let some products go or focus on others. But I think we're in the discovery process, all of us. And we don't know the answer, but we're so passionate about the question that we will find the answer. Yeah.
So we want to move now into kind of a discussion format with the audience and the entrepreneurs. And we'll start with kind of a question and answer process. So let's open up for questions that the entrepreneurs can respond to.
Interesting with the VR stuff regarding the bio cleaning. My partner actually works at one of the hospitals as a nurse. So it's just interesting to see that world. Have you seen incident reductions in the pilot program that you're doing for the sanitization?
Right now we're onboarding. Right now we're onboarding 3 pilots right now. So there has been a 20% reduction just in a small sample group of the incidents. And so it's showing up. It's showing up. But thank you for asking that.
Do you guys, this is a question for all of you guys, do you see AI supporting what you're doing, or do you feel like it's disrupting your industry?
I think we're in the wild west of AI. So I think we should use it as much as we can to understand, and we may discover things that it doesn't do as well and let those go. But I think if we're open to it, there's a lot that it can do. And as it matures, even how much it's changed, it's changing so fast. So it's also, I think, to build a whole business on AI is is a little risky because tomorrow it may like make itself redundant, like, so I think it's a double-edged sword.
I love tools. I think AI is an amazing tool to be used. So yes, we do use some AI within the product itself, but like even if it just for like business applications. So like for example, you know how expensive lawyers are? A lot. And to be able to do some preliminary work to reduce bills by like up to 80% or more, I'm like, it makes sense to just continue to embrace it, whether it's in your application or just your business needs to do for your day to day. I'm 100% for it. Let's use tools.
I'm for tools too. My husband, and as a virtual assistant, it's a great virtual assistant. My husband says we use high tech to assist us in creating low tech to help everyone.
AI is definitely a tool, and with my experience with students and helping them with their careers, I've actually had a lot of students sever the idea of them becoming programmers, and that's because there's a common misnomer that's going on right now because of vibe coding and things of that nature. And what I've realized and what I've seen is a lot of people feel like, oh, well, people can vibe code now, and there's no need to know programming, or there's no need to have knowledge of a lawyer or many different things, right? And so one thing that a lot of people are missing is whatever, it's still an input-output system. And whatever it output, you won't have, unless you've already have the knowledge of that particular industry, you won't know whether or not this is a qualified program or piece of information that is given out. And so it's definitely a tool. People are very scared that it's taking jobs, but it's the creative mind behind the AI, which is always going to be necessary because of this simple factor. Someone has to be able to qualify. If anything, coders are going to be turned into quality assurance specialists, And so we've seen this before with a lot of jobs being lost when Ford created the engine, and there was a lot of stable boys working with horses. Millions of them lost their jobs, and they protested in the streets. And there was a big worry about jobs in America. But what really happened, there was a transition of specialty. So yes, a lot of people lost their jobs for that time period, but they had to learn new skills, and they got new jobs. So with this event with AI, there's going to be a lot more different new jobs out there. So yeah, just want to encourage everybody with that.
Anybody else have another question?
I had a question for FutureGen. I like the project that you guys are working on where you're working with the rehabilitated patients and kind of helping them find direction in life. I don't know what stage of process you guys are at, but was there any results from this? And are people actually finding maybe their passions they forgot about before or never really discovered before?
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you for asking it. For at least the behavioral health program, it is so fresh. Like it literally just started September, so last month. So we're looking forward to seeing the results across the year tied to specifically the impacts relating to, again, depression, motivation, just trying to combat the quarter life crises that are occurring nationwide. But before that, like with the engagements we had with school, we've had, positive impacts in terms of like students. Like, for example, I'll give you an extreme scenario where a middle schooler told us that they wanted to become a professional mermaid when they grew up. And, I'm all about...
Yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And so after going through the platform and the experience, we started identifying, oh, wait a minute, this individual has a love for the water, has a love for swimming, has a love for these key indicators. they have never experienced like basically the breadth of what could have been maritime. And going through the life cycle or the journey cycle for the individual, we ended up finding that watershed management was something of extreme interest. And now, like, oh, that's why I need to know what chemistry is. That's why I need to know about biology. And so now you start seeing these indicators of like giving purpose for the engagements that are happening at school. Like, why is math so important? Why is English so important? This is not tied to this individual, but I'll give like a real life example for myself. I love math. I can spend hours and hours, and it just for me was like problem solving and puzzling. But one day in chemistry, one of the questions that stood out was, how many years will it take for the penguin population to meet its peak and then decline? And I was like, I have nothing against penguins, but like, why? Like, why do I need to like solve this problem? But if the question was reworded to my understanding, like, oh, what is the break-even point for your business application or for thresholds of X, Y, Z for mitigating risk, etc. Suddenly that's like tied to my interest, and now I understand. Oh, this is why knowing the penguin population is so important. That's why I need to like really be. My love for math transfers to so many different things that are personal interests of mine, superpowers, right? But yeah.
And then a quick follow-up question. I was curious with the students, because I know everybody has different ranges, but is mental health like a factor in determining like if they are able to make that breakthrough on who they want to become, or is each level workable?
I think it's so crucial to enable self-discovery at any point in stage life. So, for example, for myself, yes. And again, I have a lot of personal ties to this because of I've seen the impact of student motivation and success for individuals that they found their why, and that's so awesome, versus someone who is lost. And so helping people find a why or find a spark and continue to pursue that spark, even if that spark led to, oh, I don't want to do that, it's better to find that sooner rather than later. When you have a motivated individual that is able to find potentially an employer that shares the same love and the same culture, et cetera, you're going to have not just a very powerful worker, but also an even more powerful company and employer. When you have a workforce and company culture that is matching each other's energy, wow, that's awesome. Question?
Questions for Black News. Do you have a background in, or did you build it to spec, like that they wanted you to build this application to help people learn how to clean and sterilize, or did you have this idea, or did they come to you, or how did that start?
How I started, I actually started as trying to be a life coach, and I've been coding since I was around 15. But I have a very spiritual mindset, and my goal, after my father passed away, I started traveling state to state. I'm originally from Texas. I started traveling state to state, trying to pick up clients as a life skills coach. And I ended up landing a contract with the Juvenile Detention Center once I got to Washington. Didn't expect that. And I started teaching in the juvenile detention centers. And so originally this company actually started off with life skills, working with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. And then we ended up partnering with Metro Parks and the Tacoma School District, opening after school programs. And I was teaching kids how to put virtual assets. And we were looking at it as a financial tool to help build families. And then while working at teaching at one of the secondary schools at Burwood in Clover Parks District, I ended up meeting a head of the sterile processing technician at one of the hospitals here. And me and him became really good friends because his wife was the principal at the school I was teaching at. And he presented the idea to me about, because you've seen that I was already, I was building something similar to that, but more so with nurses at that time. And so he presented it to me, we could do this for Sarah. And he presented it to us. But he took me there, and I got to see the stuff. I took pictures of everything, and we garnered a lot of interest immediately, especially once I had AI as an AI teacher in there. So it didn't start with sterile. There's, I think Neetal kind of pushed on it. It's power in your pivot, and I was nowhere close to thinking about doing this specific project. But I had an idea, and ideas don't always work the way I want them to. But the one thing that has always worked for me is giving value. And so value over my idea.
Follow-up question on that. So just, do they go to the hospital to do the training, or are you doing training on site? And are these people that have a background that hey, I want to get into sterile? Because it seems like this could be a good job and good career gateway to maybe the hospital field, and there's a lot of jobs in that. So are you taking people that have a background in it, or maybe you're like giving them a new exploratory avenue to explore this?
Well, so far we've been selling this directly to the hospitals to be able to cut the costs for their training, so that they're using this as a part of their training. We do plan on making this available to anyone. I have a goal to become the YouTube of virtual reality, where people access my platform and learn whatever skill sets or be introduced to whatever skill sets necessary. So that's my overarching goal there. So I do plan for it to become available for the general population for free.
I want to begin a conversation. So we've got partners on our SSEW that use virtual reality, that use puzzles, games, that focus on early career exploration, use books and prompts that help people in their livelihoods, no matter what state that they may be at. And we're fortunate to have Pierce County Libraries here. And another entrepreneur in this field, JD, with building youth through music. JD has been noted to use music characters for motivational purposes to boost self-esteem, to team building, to enthusiasm for education, self-improvement, and so forth. Kind of partnerships can we consider between institutions like libraries or other entrepreneurs like music with the ed. So put JD on the spot first. You've been in your community and your family for quite a while. And please don't present this and tell us to participate in collaborations with you and other entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you, Tim. And hello, everyone. We've met. Good seeing you again. I think it's things like this, Tim. You've always been the type to try to pull people together for us to connect. Because a lot of times we just don't know each other, right? Because we're all busy in our own sectors, trying to kick doors down and things like this. I've now ran into this brother a couple of times teaching AI. And so now I'm seeing him a second time, like, oh, we need to sit down and talk because, like you say, I'm a spiritual being also. So you start looking at things like there's a reason behind me seeing certain people or connecting with certain people. Then do I take now the step, right? Because everything is a moment, right? You can change your life in a moment, but if you don't use the moment, then you could miss the opportunity. So I think, Tim, making sure we attend certain things, but then making sure we network and we look at these moments as real opportunities, because sometimes we don't. It's just another class. It's just another workshop. It's just no, actually it's a moment that can change your life if you choose to look at it that way.
Okay, so my name is Christian Reed. I'm part of Workforce Central, the local workforce development board here in Pierce County. I lead a lot of our young adult paid internships. So we fund young adults to work at local businesses to gain the skills they need to move on in their life. David has experienced a little bit of that, but that is an area of partnership that we could do is as you guys are teaching the next generation, if there's ways that we can partner a young adult with you and we'll fund their wages while they learn skills at your organization, that's something I'm definitely interested in, something that we do every single year. So the deeper our connection, the more we can kind of orchestrate those pathways. And David can speak a little bit to like how that work has been in the past.
Yes, I have to say, it's been a blessing, definitely a blessing working with Christian Reed and Workforce since I met you at a Maritime Blue event years ago.
Random moment.
Random moments. And, every year he sends me a couple of qualified interns. I've been really impressed with the quality that's been sent. Our current intern has been creating virtual assets for us using Blender and Unity and Quick Learner. And so I'm really blessed with that. And then they also pay for it. So that's amazing. And that's amazing. I think that when it comes to partnering and businesses working together, especially locally, I think that's super important. And there's many different ways to do that. And one of the ways that me and Christian Reed is doing this has been about trading resources. I know for myself, working with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, I'm looking for partners where I can send students for job shadows, job tours. These are neurodivergent students. They get experience in their first jobs, second jobs in the field, helping them transition from the school life to the career life. So if anyone has room for job tours or job shadows or informational interviews, that would be great.
So we run after school programs, and I think we're in 9 schools now. So we're always looking for youth or even adults looking for something from 3 to 6. We also have a tech summit coming up December 3rd here in Tacoma, December 6th in Tacoma and December 13th in Bellevue. And we're looking for speakers for the panel. We'll have a robotics competition here in Tacoma and a Lego competition in Bellevue, along with speakers and people who teach AI and 3D printing and coding and all that will be there at the event. So we're always looking for people to partner with to be there. Like I said, speakers, volunteers, you want a table, all those different things in 2 locations, 6th and the 13th, Tacoma and Bellevue.
So, put Brian on the spot. What role might the Incubator and the library play in showcasing of the selling on display and making it more available to the young?
Sure. Yeah, it's I use my usual pitch is around a lot of our physical presence. What we tell a lot of folks is, think of the library as an infrastructure player, particularly to entrepreneurs. And that can be something as simple as internet goes out of your house, but you got some high stakes meetings. Go grab a study room in the library. And although I'm here as Pierce County Library System, a lot of what I like to do is just remind people what the reach looks like. We're 20 libraries. We stretch from Lakewood, which is essentially for all intents and purposes an urban library, all the way out to hoarding. So if you're, one thing to add into the mix of marginalization and that calculation of who's included in that group is to look at the rural areas, where there's a lot of appreciation for and a dearth of resources. And the library tends to play a big role in rural communities that it doesn't play as much because there's other competing resources in urban areas. So that's also including in thinking about Tacoma, which is 6 additional library locations. It's Puyallup, 1 additional library location. So when you add all that up, it's 27, 28 locations throughout the entire county from urban to rural that includes points of presence. And, one thing that we also have, of course, in a library is we have meeting rooms. So want to conduct an educational session, it's outreach, you can do it for free. You don't pay for any of those. You just have to have a library card. So you just pick your location somewhere within those 27 locations out here. The only thing the only restrictions we have is you can't sell anything in the presentation. But if you're offering it for free to the public, to educate them, to make connections, to build community, then those locations are at your disposal. We also have virtual technology as well. So you'll get a TV, you'll get, Logitech interfaces and so forth. You need to have an inside out approach, which is physical people as well as any of the digital folks that are joining. So that's a key piece. The other piece is, of course, we've seen a huge shift in digital platforms and digital consumption of content, just like everyone else has post-pandemic. Folks discovered they could consume media over the internet, and their library card is a portal to that. So it's thinking about where your content and your services could fit within that. We have a large number of databases and educational resources that we provide, and we're always looking to be able to add to that list. And the count for Pierce County Library is 350,000 people, that see this as cardholders. When you add on Tacoma and you add on Puyallup to those numbers, we're getting close to almost 500,000. It's nearly half of the entire county's population that are accessing, albeit on a periodic basis, but that's the resource. Content on one side, people on the other. We're the portal, right? That we see as being able to provide that to individuals. So that's where I think I kind of tend to think of us. We're that point of presence, physical as well as digital, and whatever we can add to the content mix that we're providing to others, for the community is beneficial. The only caveat we have is that it has to be free, but we pay for the intermediaries. So we want the card to represent increasing value to our folks out there. And so however we can meet those needs, that's where the partnership ecosystem exists. I'm happy to have the physical presence to say, hey, you're invited. That's our big ask in this scenario. Come join us and help us, provide those things to folks in our communities.
Oh, that's the question we got.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of the library myself.
Thank you.
And I see my significant other too. She is always constantly checking an audiobook after, Kindle to there's so many stuff. Is there some example that maybe you can think of where somehow a local organization community was able to get their resources somehow tied to the library card or something like that? Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's probably not as hard as you would think, but it is a little complicated. We have an entire department called collection management, and collection management looks at both physical and digital resources. Digital resources most often are provided through subscription. And so we actually have a submission form that you can use where you just go in and you say, hey, I have a resource. I'd like the library to provide it. You fill out that particular form. It's online on our website. And then it goes into the mix for consideration. So that would be true if it's a book you published or if it's your digital platform that you're saying, hey, this is an educational resource and we'd like to see if maybe the library would provide it. Collection management goes in, kind of sees where the fit is, whether the ROI seems to exist for our patrons. And it does, there's kind of an arc, right? We'll subscribe to resources over time. And then as usage falls, we'll see those resources diminish. But that's kind of the foot in the door.
I'm going to put the William Becker Incubator on the spot. Before the audience and the panelists. What role can the incubator play in forming these partnerships and enhancing collaborations? I've mentioned to a few of you that we'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary next year. And between now and then, so we've stood the test of time, I want to present three messages. Number one, why was the incubator founded? It was founded just by community residents on the east side of Tacoma, not by a government, not by a business association, not by a private foundation, just everyday citizens that wanted to revitalize the community. The method of revitalization was the startup and expansion of small, locally owned enterprises. So that's message number one. Message number two, where's the incubator now? What are we doing for the community in terms of cluster development and encouraging even more ecosystem partnerships? And then the most important thing is not so much a message, but a question. And I borrow the title from MLK's last book, Where Do We Go From Here? So where does the William Factory Incubator go from here? How can we enhance partnerships with yourself and with others to continue to improve the community?
Hey, so I always try to, Northwest Cooperative Development Center, I always try to talk about the kind of up and coming economy that will stabilize.
Could you say one more time?
The Northwest Cooperative Development Center.
Okay.
Right. So I always try to preface what I'm talking about with places in the world that are stable, meaning that like even if the government goes south, or even if the economy sneezes internationally, or there's a boom and bust cycle, right? We have democratic associations and enterprises in various ways, whether they're individually owned by groups of people or by businesses owning businesses, right? Those places tend to be highly stable, and technology there is in service to those democratically owned enterprises. One of the larger problems that we're having in Washington is we have a bunch of people retiring. So we have businesses that are either leaving because of what they consider a regressive tax structure, or B, people are retiring and then we lose jobs in the community, right? And so all of those people who have families, jobs gone, buildings empty, right? So one of the things that I've been talking about, and this is interesting with William Factory, is putting on the table conversions, specifically for businesses in the community that have people that have been working there for 10 years, and then providing an avenue or a pathway for talking about cooperative ownership and thus stabilizing that in the community. Now, this is something I've talked with the Department of Commerce about, but it's kind of like a little known thing. On top of that, we have SB 5096, which actually provides a tax credit, if I remember correctly, for business conversions to employee ownership. The second thing that I want to talk about here too, there is a really well-known global corporation of co-ops called Mondragon, and they've been around since like the 1940s. They also came under Spanish fascism under the Franco regime in the 1940s, and they developed a very, very, very successful model that a lot of cooperative economies and just corporations in the world basically mimic. I found out early on in some of their schooling system that they actually start their entrepreneurship, or I guess co-oppreneurship training, very early in like elementary school up into high school, where students will actually develop products and services, and that will actually eventually build out into a co-op. And the reason why I keep talking about co-ops is I recognize we're developing all these like products and services and turning them into jobs, but we're also doing model mimicry. And model mimicry can actually get us into that bust cycle again that we're kind of experiencing right now. So I think bringing cooperative entrepreneurship and democratic ownership into both like the youth and then as an opportunity for retiring businesses is actually really crucial to kind of stabilize the Tacoma economy.
Question from the camera woman, since we're talking about uncertainties that's happening, and this go across the room too. I think it's really no stranger to everybody here that our area has become somewhat hostile towards small business. So my question is, how do you deal with those changes that is considered hostile in your environment? What are some of the challenges that you have to overcome when you just get started in this tech area, which is insanely competitive, and any lessons that you've learned that you would like to share?
I wanted to also just echo, when we look at legal structures for businesses that are trying to create impact, many people think that cooperatives are actually the most equitable form because it's employee owned. So it's really great that you're working on that area. And there are countries that are more advanced than the US in using co-ops. Co-ops are often used in agriculture in the US, but in other countries they're used more broadly. And so there is a whole movement around that. And it's awesome that you're really behind it. And I think that in Tacoma, I think one of the really positive things about Tacoma is that it's such a community-based place. So I feel like if entities like the government, we find that there's not as much support, you can go back to the roots of connections and moments and find those connections that are beyond that don't necessarily involve external forces, because even sometimes if we get funding, and we saw this in these last few years, sometimes you can get funding, which is so exciting for a nonprofit, but it can come with so many random strings attached, like use the money by X date, which forces weird behavior because you don't get to think about it in a long-term setting. So I think I think grants are great ways to get things started, but I think co-ops and deeper connections actually mean for more sustainability over time. So back to Jiang's question, I feel like the challenges of a startup really is getting a product to market that works and getting a first customer. And I think communities and relationships can help with both, as we've heard, down the line. You can talk to someone who's a little further than you in the technology. Maybe even you can be on their platform until you're independent, and maybe through your connections, you can find a first customer and then customize your offering to meet their needs. But yeah, I think those are two things. But I'm excited to hear what everyone else.
Yeah, speaking of grants, like that's one of the weaknesses of the grant model is you have to have a fully formed idea before you can even get the money, and that's the antithesis to innovation.
Yeah, winning grant money is hard. I think so. Something, at least regarding for future gen and navigating, really was a transition. That is, we're going to have to handle the transition for some time. For us, it really threw us into a what do we do from here moment. So I think for ourselves, and what was able to get us out of an awkward year of this transition was, okay, well then let's look at who are the winners in this, and let's see what the market needs are for these new priorities. And so for us, again, it's the power of the pivot, right? So there's still problems that are out there that exist. And there is so many ways, shapes, and forms that problems exist in the ecosystem. So like, for example, I shared that I have a special offer the question, what do you want to do in the future? That has, in my opinion, or my perspective, so many applications for that. And so behavioral health is still a very important thing. And so from focusing on a lot of past opportunities versus, well, actually there's one of the emerging winners for the transition period is towards behavioral health, but it has to be scientifically based. It has to have research driven results, etc. Then let's see what we can do to support those market needs, those emerging market needs. So that's how we navigated it.
I think the challenge, we have many challenges, but one is getting out of e-commerce. That has the delusion that actually is a prosperous way to go has been a false one for us. But also navigating the ever-changing tax structure, especially where we live. It's not very favorable. However, what has been a blessing, and it all started with this gentleman right over here, Tim Strage. I've been through 5 different business accelerators, and I never would have known about any had it not been for him.
To answer, for me, answering that question about hostility towards small businesses in Tacoma, I know for myself, I've experienced hostility, honestly, all throughout Pierce County from the moment I started. But I didn't, I think it was a big time on perspective for me that changed the momentum I was able to gain, because I did gain a lot of momentum from the very beginning from when I started. And that hostility kind of turned into somewhat of an infamy, whereas my name was being spoken of in rooms. I know about people, there were certain people that were saying certain things, trying to disqualify me from the positions and the projects I was working on. But all they did was bring up my name, and they went to look themselves and they're like, oh, this is actually really good. So it was perspective. I leaned in on the polarizing effect of what I was doing. Like I brought up, where I started was working in a juvenile detention center, teaching life skills, and I was teaching very spiritual life skills, not religion, but ideals of there was a blend of cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectic behavioral therapy, as well as motivational things, building them up from the inside and then giving them tools to work with on the outside. And there was a lot of people that was very much against that because it didn't fit in a direct, the superintendent was the person that was against me. And it didn't fit in his religious standard. And there was a whole battle with that. But it ended up catching the attention of many other schools that he spoke about. And then he ended up leaving anyway. And I became really good friends with the next superintendent. And it solidified me there. But I think that that hostility was what we've learned in the political reign, that we can actually use these things to benefit us if we react in a certain way. Energy is energy. And so regardless if you come at me or towards me with a negative intent and negative energy, if I'm in a position myself in a way to receive it, I can transmute that into something that's very useful for me, because energy doesn't have a negative or positive to it, not morally. It just is. So power is power. It depends on whose hands it is in. And so that's how it worked for me. I leaned in on that polarization.
Thank you. I'd like to allow each of the panelists, before we conclude this portion, and then we'll have networking and refreshments, but any inspirational messages, and particularly, what's your future? What's next?
Inspiration. I would say, whatever idea that you have, go through it, do it boldly, and do it with an expectation of that this is meant to be in the world. Everything that we see around us was in someone's imagination before it ever came into existence. Aristotle teaches us that the idea is more real than the actual substance, because the idea is pure. The idea, when it comes down from wherever you're getting this idea from, it goes through these different forms, and it may not come out exactly like you intended it to be, but it's coming from a very special place. And so treat your idea as if it was given to you, as if it was a blessing, as if you stumbled upon gold. And you're going to see that realization really change the whole aspect of yourself. There's a very wise man that says that men do not have ideas, ideas have men. So where I plan to go, I plan to continue blessing my community with my programs. Right now, my classes that I teach and the different educational resources that I create are a big part of how I make money. But I'm trying to create a self-sufficient circle in the way I build it, where I'm creating classes that creates products, and those products create money. And so I want the classes to pay for themselves rather than students paying for the classes.
I wish I had some words of wisdom. Right now, my brain is literally frozen. There is a vent blowing cold air directly on me, and I am just filled with goosebumps. But where we're going, we have just uploaded our newest designs for conversation cards that we have. We are entering into the Native American cultural aspect. I am a member of 2 tribes, so I am able to do that. And we're also looking at different ways we might pivot. So we're looking for vision on that way. So that's it.
You know, there's a quote that I remember that I totally am blanking out, or I'm going to butcher the person who said it, but history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And I think it's Nathaniel Hawthorne, but I had to look it up, okay, just to double check.
It's the cold hair.
Yeah. But the reason why I say that is I encourage everyone to work with others that are as excited as you are. When you're working with folk that are as excited as you are, whether it's internally in a team or outside of that, like for partnerships, etc., when they share that same enthusiasm for creating a better world that a lot of us have common grounds in building towards, seek that. Work with people that are excited to work with you.
A bit of news is I will be splitting time between the Bay Area and Tacoma coming up. I spent a childhood moving. We've moved over 20 times. I was born in Oklahoma. So for me, I never think of us moving. You just take the places with us. So I really hope, I believe in cross-pollinating. So I'm excited to see how we can cross-pollinate these 2 creative economies and collaborators, especially in the ed tech space. I'll be back already in November. So already that is there. But I just wanted to invite, I think so many amazing things have happened with collaboration and partnership. So I've learned through experience, just start with the smallest version of that. So I feel like even in this room, if we can leave with just some small partnerships. And then if it goes well, you can always build bigger. But it seems like that seems to be a way to move things forward, to do it in community. And, the rising tide lifts all ships. Love that saying. And then the final quote I'll just leave with, I used to have it on my screensaver on my computer, but at first it seems impossible. This is by Christopher Reeve, who was an actor who became paraplegic and really pursued trying to have individuals be able to walk, which now is becoming more and more possible. But he said, at first it seems impossible, and then it seems improbable, and then when we summon the will, it soon becomes inevitable. So I feel like we are all inevitable. So find that part of you that is inevitable and just don't stop until you reach it. You reach your goal.
Thank you all. If you got food and refreshments, this is networking time. Thank you.